Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your favorite life coach, Carla D, and this is another episode of Love, Lust, and Everything in Between, where we talk a lot about sex, but we talk about sex, love, relationships, and everything taboo. And so I hope everybody enjoyed their Wednesday. No matter where you are, it could be a great day. It just all depends on how you looked at it. And so, as always, I'm so excited to have our conversation, as we always do on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And we have a wonderful special guest that is returning, Coach K. And I can't wait for her to jump on. And I'm going to go ahead and share. And so, go ahead, if you can, share, invite your friends. I'm going to put on some music. Hey, Coach K. Let's see. View. I'm live. Yes. Let's see. Can we get you on? Hey. Let me turn my volume up. I didn't realize it was. Okay, there we go. So how are you doing?
I am good. How about yourself?
I am wonderful myself. I'm telling you, I am so excited to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
I think it's so needed, especially with everything that we have going on right about now.
Yes.
We have a lot of people that are broken, that's hurting, going through so much and struggling through so much. So I just, really want to thank you. Thank you. And forgive me, I'm jumping on a few minutes late. So I am actually gonna real quick invite a few people.
Yeah, I'm doing some sharing myself while
Yes.
we're at the beginning of it.
Yes. And so if you view this after it's already been aired live, please share this with a friend, share this with a loved one, especially if it's someone that you know that's really struggling with unforgiveness, dealing with a lot of pain, depression, really just having a hard time dealing with past hurts, current hurts, all of this stuff that's just going on with the world. They just seem like they have a lot of despair. I can tell you before we get started, this is definitely a great show that I know that somebody needs to hear, okay? And so let me do this. And so while I am sharing, I want to give a shout out, as always, to our sponsor, Sex Ready Lips. Mwah, mwah, mwah. They always have my lips so nice and moist and luscious. But you can definitely go on to sexreadylips.com and get your lingerie, get your toys, your lubes, your lotions, all of those wonderful things that, can help spice up the bedroom. And one of my favorites for me right now is definitely the lipsticks and the lip glosses. I can't do without them. And it's crazy because even wearing a mask with everywhere that we go, I still put my lips on. So, hey, deal with it. And when you go on and you can get your nice little bag of tricks, you can also put in the code at the end, Carla D 10, and that will give you an additional 10% off your order. So that should be a really good one. And forgive me tonight, I don't have music. I realize I don't know what's going on. Something's going on with my music account. So I'm going to have to figure that out. And so then that way I can get that taken care of because it's a little too quiet. Okay, we did the sharing, so we're good with that one. I want to introduce you as always, and thank you so much for always coming on and joining us. I know every time you are on the show, we always hear a lot of great feedback, and just the way that you break everything down, we have a lot of aha moments. I'm like, okay, I walked away with quite a few nuggets. And so I want to introduce you to some, and some that are jumping on already know exactly who you are. But this is our special reoccurring guest, Coach K. And you can follow her on IG at Coach K 101. And she is one of our amazing and talented sexologists. And so before we get started, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, as always, I am definitely excited to be back. I'm here as much as I can be with you guys. So
Mhm.
thank you again for having me back. Um, like you said, my name is Kanya, but everyone just call me Coach K. I'm a certified clinical sexologist and master sexologist,
Mhm.
aka life, love, and intimacy coach. My
Mhm.
goal is always here to encourage, empower, and to guide people to own their sexuality. And of
Yes.
course, that all starts with ourselves. So thank you for having me with, especially with this oh so much needed topic.
All I can say, y'all, is get comfortable. I'm in the bed tonight. I was like, I had to be comfortable for this one because usually I'm sitting up in my little high chair. But OMG, I know I just want to go ahead and dive in because it shuts us off after, at a certain point. But right now, the topic of this evening on love, lust, and everything in between is the process of healing. The process of healing. And I think this is something, it's a conversation that we need to have a lot more. And I really do look forward to probably going even deeper into this because I'm sure that tonight we're only going to scratch the surface. And so when you hear that topic, the process of healing, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you right now that's relevant in this moment of where we are in this country?
Oh, our mental healing is the first thing that comes to mind, and
Mhm.
honestly, spiritual healing. And we all look at spirituality differently.
Yes, we do.
Because for me, that mental and that spirituality is so connected that if one is damaged, it's almost as if both are. So it's almost like a double whammy. And when our mental and our spirits are broken,
Mhm.
so many things can creep in. And then
Ooh.
the breakdown just occurs. It's like that saying, adult language here, shit falls downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I think of.
Ooh. Okay. So the process of healing has a lot to do with our spiritual and our mental. And so what if I'm a person, I'm super, super spiritual, but I don't really work on my mental aspect?
Then you are getting a portion of the battle. What is it? You're
Mm-hmm.
you're winning battles, but you're not winning the war. So there we go. So you gotta, you may be going around and you stomp out a little bit of fire here, you stomping out, so, but you're leaving some fires burning. And so
Mm.
eventually, with most fires, they typically get bigger. It's less than likely that a fire will just go out, especially when fuel is being thrown on it.
Mm.
And the fuel of life is always spewing
Mm-hmm.
itself on those various fires. So if you're only going around and you're making sure that one aspect of yourself is whole, then
Mm-hmm.
you're definitely missing out on an entire piece of yourself because we're made up of so much.
Mm-hmm. So if I am one and I'm only really working on my spirituality, but I'm not working on my mental state, is that what leads to where you have the mom or the dad? And in my sense, what it makes me kind of think of is you have that person that's like a public success, but a private failure.
Oh yes, speak on it. Let's speak on it. Let's speak on the on the
Yeah.
person that is preaching but not practicing.
Ooh, preaching but not practicing.
Yes.
Oh,
You know, that
mm,
person they can recite scripture, they can give you quotes, they can just talk all day long about how they walk in the spirit, and then they go home right after they've stopped by their mistress's house on the way home, or they are so damaged and broken from whatever relationship that was going on, whether it be work,
mm,
partner, whatever, business, but that mental is still shaken. So it's a
mm,
surface level. Oh my gracious, that one right there, that
mhm.
spirituality, wholeness, but that mental breakdown is a doozy. I think the opposite of the other one is a doozy.
Yeah, it is. That is a scary one because, and the reason why I said that is because I think that's where many of us, especially in our culture, are. And I can only speak from experience because I know at one point that was me. Oh, what? I love the Lord, and I was one of them main people. Do you know who and whose you are?
Yeah. And then you in your
What?
mind saying, oh my gosh, I hate me. I can't
Oh,
look at me. But
I inwardly though, I was miserable, and
yeah.
it got so bad. God allowed it to get so bad. I felt the only way I could describe it is I was dry heaving spiritually
Hmm.
because I was not whole mentally and emotionally.
Hmm.
And it sucked the life out of me. And I think a lot of times that's what happens to many people, which is why you get to a point that you can only do it for so long. I think if you really do have a heart, if you really have a desire to heal, but you don't know how to do it the right way,
Hmm.
in one way or the other, whatever you're feeding, that will get better, but eventually it's like it'll all eventually just kind of suck you dry, and you'll fall apart.
Yeah.
It's like it'll seem like you have it all together, but eventually it catches up with you.
Yeah. One example I gave on a different talk is if you had a pretty vase or a vase, whatever you want to call it, and you put a
Mhm.
bunch of gold coins inside of it. But every
Mhm.
so often you dropped a piece of shit in it, right? And so you see, you have this beautiful vase, you have all of these gold coins, but the only thing that anyone will ever honestly remember is that it smelled like shit.
Ooh.
So if you don't clean it all up,
Mhm.
the part that is not clean and cleansed will eventually seep into everywhere else, which is
And
exactly
that's
what you just said.
and is that the part that you say a lot of times um, it seems to be that's the part that people remember because I know like you have those individuals, especially in relationships, in their minds, but I did this for you and I did that. And,
Yes.
but I'm this person and I'm that person and I do this and I've helped this person out and I'm this to all of these other people. But then the individuals that have to really deal with them on a day-to-day basis, live with them, and have that opportunity to really see who they are because you can only hide who you are from only the outside world, not the inside. And eventually those people are just like they don't see all of the things that you're saying. It's almost
Right.
like you lie, you create a story in your head and you
Mm-hmm.
only want to deal with the pretty parts of what it is that you do, but you deny the ugly part, the part that you're not getting right because you don't want to admit that you're not whole.
Which is why that particular instance, a healing process could never happen. Part of the
Mm.
healing process is truly acknowledging and recognizing A, that there's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and B, accepting the responsibility of our own play into that problem. So when the example you gave of people who can rattle off all of these things that they've done, well, in between all of those, let's talk about the things that were not done. Yeah,
Mm.
I bought you this. I never compliment you.
Oh.
I made sure the bills were paid. I cheated on you. I
Mm.
always take you to places you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I tell you that you're stupid. So there are a whole lot of, with every,
Uh,
peak, there's a peaks and
a,
valleys, peaks and
a
valleys.
major valley.
So we want to make sure that we kind of can close those gaps to
Mm-hmm.
begin the healing process. And in order to do that, we have to go and recognize what's down in the
Valleys.
valleys.
So but how do I get to that point though of recognizing? Because just saying it and thinking about it, it sounds so painful.
Absolutely. And to be honest, depending on the type of healing or the type of things that we need to go down into that valley to get,
Mm-hmm.
that might require an actual licensed therapist, because there are
Got
some
you.
traumas and some items that as a coach I wouldn't even touch,
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, I don't want to, our goal is to be that proactive coach. The
Mm-hmm.
therapy and therapists, those are your reactive helps.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm speaking to a client and they're just telling me, I can't trust, I just don't trust that, and my last relationship, da, 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 I can take that and I can move forward, because what we do is we examine that last relationship. And my first question is, what did you bring into the relationship?
Oh,
You know,
got you.
because if you brought in baggage and you brought in negativity and you brought in all of that last relationship,
Mm-hmm.
what else can you have but your last relationship all over again?
So it's not the other person, because I know a lot of times when people think because they don't want to look at themselves, they're so quick to look at the other person. But you can't
Absolutely.
even consider the other person based on what you're saying. I have to look at myself first and myself only. Because is in the healing process, is there anything that we can do for the other person, or does it all have to be for us?
It has to start with you until
Got
you're healed whole. So, you hear people say relationships are 50-50. Bull.
Yes, that's
That's
why I'm
bull.
asking.
Completely bull. A
Yeah.
relationship is 100-100. If you don't come into
Mhm.
this 100%, even if you come in 75%, you
It's
need to
still,
work on that last
yeah,
25%
yeah.
before you can start trying to heal someone else. You
Hmm.
can give some of the practices that you're using to the other party, but your
Hmm.
goal is to work on yourself. In any
Hmm.
of the couples coachings that I do, yes, we work on, team efforts, but we work on individual activities first.
Got
I
you.
like to meet with the individuals for about 10, 15 minutes independent of each other before we
Hmm.
even start to talk about any of the items together.
Hmm.
Because what we have to remember is we weren't raised in the same household. We do not have the same environmental backgrounds.
No.
And so we have to learn to how to best communicate with people who we just met,
Hmm.
and not try to push ourselves on them, but just come into it so that we meet in the middle
Hmm.
and learn each other and make sure
Got
that we
you.
are healing from any past, whatever, past relationship, trust issues. And that
Hmm.
comes with being transparent,
Hmm.
recognizing what it was that we brought into that thing that happened, and
Hmm.
then knowing what we're bringing into this relationship here. We have to know what we're bringing in it. Are we bringing mess, or are we bringing just us?
Got you. Now, you were talking about a relationship as far as couples are concerned. How would you work with someone like myself, single, not in a relationship? But I have, I got some issues. I got some stuff I need to unpack. I'm ready to heal.
Mm-hmm.
How do I, as an individual, as a single individual, separate from a person, I'm not thinking about a relationship, how do I begin that healing process?
Um, the boot camp that I have, which is called On Your Ish Sis,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me and that wine not getting along. So On Your Ish Sis boot camp is a 5-week program dedicated to just you. It is all about you. Getting to the point where you are unapologetically ready to teach people how to treat you
Ooh, say
is
that.
where you
Say that one more time. My mom told me that when I was younger, and I was just like, huh? And I don't think we hear that enough, especially as women, that you need to do what?
you need to unapologetically teach people how to treat you.
Yes, people
And
teach people how to treat you.
we do that in every single thing that we do. We do it when
Mm-hmm.
we talk, we do it when we walk, we do it when we say yes, we do it when we agree, we do it when we everything that we do as individuals is
Mm-hmm.
teaching somebody on the outside of us exactly how we desire to be treated. And in that boot camp, when I say
Mm-hmm.
that I'm so proud of my beta testers that are going through. One of them is in week 5, and her transformation is amazing,
Mm.
because it's learning that no is the healthiest word that you
No
could
is a
ever utter.
complete sentence.
Complete sentence. Don't need no period mark, no explanation, just no. And
Mm-hmm.
it you may think that you're going to feel anxious, but I promise you, by the time you say oh, you're going to be
It actually brings down the anxiety.
it does.
It
Yes, it's
really,
the
really does.
beginning of an anxiety filled future.
Mm-hmm. Because you're not doing what you really want to do.
Absolutely.
So before we move forward, the whole point of teaching people how to treat you, when you are not whole, when you are broken, and you are having relationships, not only intimate relationships, but also just friendships with other males, other females, work relationships. If I'm not healthy and whole, and if I have no understanding of what it is that I need to do or how to teach people how to treat me, is is that why I keep attracting the same people or type of people? Or the same, would you say, is that the same type of negative relationships?
It's the same. It's essentially the same, because the ones that are not into what it is, they just
Mm-hmm.
gonna leave you. So we don't even remember the onesie twosie weeks. We don't call those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the one that we stayed in for months or years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you recognize that in the last, like say in the last 3 years, you've been through 3 1-year disasters,
Mm.
the common denominator is you. So we have to
Yep.
look in that mirror and say, what am I giving off
Yeah.
that gets me the same result, which is insanity? Doing the
Mm.
same thing, expecting a different result.
Mm.
Do I want to continue to go insane, or do I want to try to heal myself so that
Mm-hmm.
I walk into the next place whole? And that will not allow anything to seep into me. When you're whole, that means no matter how much water is put on you, it doesn't seep in.
Mm-mm. No, it doesn't.
Now, in a broken
Ooh.
well, you're going to fill up with water. You're going to fill up with negativity.
Mm-hmm. You take it all
You
in.
take it all in.
Oh my goodness. So the process of healing is so important, but doing it on every level and doing it in a balanced way.
Yes.
Because if you do it and just only focusing on one area, which is I think a lot of times what we just do as individuals because we're not taught anything else, that's
Mm-hmm.
why so many people you see major highs, but then you see major lows. And it's like one moment they have it all together and the next moment they don't. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because I know for me, one of my biggest issues in my healing process that used to bother me is I used to always hear this thing, the peace that passes all understanding. How can you, and I kept saying, how do you get there if you're only working on one thing? Or if you're only doing one thing? Like, because to me, the peace that passes all understanding basically is just another way of saying that I'm whole. I'm whole in every aspect of my being. So what are some different techniques or what are some different things or assignments that you give to your clients to kind of help them get there to make it real and concrete for them?
One of the assignments in the boot camp, and I'm hoping that my boot campers, I'll give, I'm trying to think of one that I don't, well, I love this one, but I don't like to always give it away because it's so radical. It's one of those radical ones where I usually get calls after like, oh my gosh. So I won't talk about that one, but I'll talk about this one. So in the very first week of the boot camp, I have 2 distinct days. You have a negative day and you have a positive day. And on your negative day, you have to, no matter what's going on, you have to say, no, I can't. You have to disagree with everything, unless it's life or death, of course, or it's going to get you fired from your job. But you literally have to have a full-blown negative day. And there's an assignment, after that. How did you feel at the beginning? How did the day go? How did the people around you react? And then on the positive day, same thing. And there are questions that are asked at the end, how did you feel? And one person was saying, on the negative day, at the beginning, I was so anxious, but by the end of the day, I felt relieved. And that's because they weren't used to being able to say no. I said, I always ask, did anybody die? No. Okay. Then it was okay. One young lady, she said, her kids asked her, are you going to cook dinner? She said, no. And they kind of looked at her like, what do you mean no? Like, what does that look like? And they're teenagers. And so I said, so what did they do? She said, they figured it out. They cooked.
Yeah. And that is the thing, people will figure it out.
Yeah. So she had to teach her teenagers how to treat her as a mother. And that's one of the things that we talk about in that boot camp. Literally, the layers of yourself. Down to my 9-year-old. My 9-year-old knows that I don't play that game even with you, darling. You're 9. You're old enough to know better. We taught you from knee high on up. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. If you want something, you can wait until I'm ready to go and get it. So I teach them early.
Yes, parents, please take notes. Because I think some individuals, they figure it out relationship wise. But then as far as parenting, they really struggle. And so again, there goes that finding that balance between the not only mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, but now even within our day-to-day lives, like you just said, the different roles that we play, finding and creating that balance and those boundaries in the roles that we play. And speaking of boundaries, does no follow along with creating boundaries? It's
one of the pieces of cement in the brick building. No, it is truly the mixture that's inside of the cement truck that's going around. So no is a boundary before the next brick goes on. No. Brick. So absolutely, that is that's a protective barrier. But the important piece of it is, especially when it comes to the healing process, is saying no with a purpose. So not just arbitrarily saying no,
Gotcha.
but purposely saying no. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying no because I don't want to do it. I'm not saying no because
Mm-hmm.
somebody told me to say no.
Gotcha.
And that's a part of what's taught around, within the boot camp. It's not just you're saying no just because.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to one day, just say no just because, that's fine. But as long as it's purposeful,
Yeah.
everything you do should be with a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're inside of the healing process.
So seeing that you're a mom and you basically a lot of these things are tools that we don't have.
Hmm.
Are you giving these same tools to your kids now? So as they become adults or as they know how to say no, they know to not feel guilty about saying no. Do they have that?
Absolutely.
Do you give them that same space and respect as children? Because I know
I
sometimes that's a
do.
difficult space.
I do. My children are sometimes allowed to say no to me.
Mm-hmm.
There are some times where I may be completely lazy and be like, I call them all the way in the room. Give me that remote off the dresser that's right there.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they better hand me that remote control. Now, if it's a time that I'm just utterly being lazy, and say that
Oh,
every once in a while the kids are on the game, they're like, Mama, can I just finish this one board? I know that it's
ooh,
something that I don't need in that moment.
that's
I'm
true.
okay with saying, all right, you finish that and then you can come get that for me. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
being is because it's teaching respect on a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Like my 9-year old, he commands respect from his teachers. He doesn't demand it, but he does expect it because he respects them. And so,
Mm-hmm.
in order for my children to respect others, it starts with me. It starts with me being a whole person, being a parent, a good parent, to teach them that it's not always because I said so. Most of the time it is, but
As
every
they
once
get
in a
older, that's,
as
yeah.
long as they, yeah, so, it's giving them proper boundaries and parameters to work within. Because I'll tell you this, it matters.
Mm.
It matters because I have a college child. And what I know is our 20, 19, 20, sometimes 18-year-olds go off to college
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know how to say no without feeling guilt.
That's
So they get
true.
into situations that get really sticky
Mm-hmm.
and it's
All because of
scary.
oh no.
Yep. All because they did not, it's anxiety filled to say no. And then they feel like, well, I'm an adult. I should be able to do this thing. But inside they don't want to do it, and especially in that realm of sex or
Mm-hmm.
drugs or
Mm-hmm.
just going to do something completely and utterly dumb. Let's be real, when they go to college they just do.
Would you say is not having the skill set and the understanding of no creates and puts us in a lot of situations that cause a lot of the harm and pain we're going through as adults?
Oh yes, I know personally for myself, knowing the story where I came from,
Mm-hmm.
if I had the knowledge, tools, and strength that I had to date,
Mm-hmm.
I would not have been in 95% of the predicaments that I was in. I know that God looks out for babies and food, because this fool right here, listen, when I tell you,
Oh,
had guns pointed at me, been in places where I didn't know a single soul, just been in
oh,
some ridiculous situations, ridiculous.
wow.
And have that to not have that skill set of a healed person
Mm-hmm.
to talk to me about, it's okay to say no. These are things that you might want to watch out for. There
Mm-hmm.
should be no shame in, you know, if you're purposely doing something. To not
Mm-hmm.
have that as a young person, it is. Oh, wow. Yeah. It definitely creates the need for healing as adults.
So as a parent, I think that really strikes a chord because I don't think that parents understand a lot. The reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of times kids, like you just said, grow up, they go off to college, and now it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe you did this, and I can't believe you did that, and I can't believe you. So as if it's not bad enough that I already screwed up. Now, you, as my parent, that should be protecting me and helping me, now you want to throw it in my face when you were the one that should have prepared me for this, and you didn't. You didn't do your
Yes.
job. And so now it's my fault because you did not do your job in preparing me to be whole and to understand that I am strong and it's okay for me to set boundaries. It's okay for me to say no. So parents need to take a listen. Teach your kids. Start young because that way when they do get older, because fortunately I was the opposite. I had that dad that was constantly keep your panties up and your dress down. He didn't use any of the right terminology, y'all. Okay? None of the right terminology. Because since 5, I was like, my panties up. I'm like, why do I need to keep my panties up? I don't get it. But
I'm going to pee.
exactly. But until my senior year, keep your panties up and your dress down. And then over the years, it went to because they only want what's in between your legs. And eventually it was like, ding, okay, I got it. And then I went off to college and he was no longer around.
Mm-hmm.
And he had all of the guys, because it's the fresh meat on campus. I wasn't the only one. Fresh meat, fresh meat.
Yeah.
And when I tell you the things that was said to me, I was just like, and all I could hear, keep your panties up and your dress down because they only want what's in between your legs. So I had no problem saying, no, I'm good. I'm good. No, thank you. I'm good. That part he prepared me for. And that was one of the things and I'm saying this because, of course, like most kids, I hated him when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, and especially in that moment, I was like, oh, thank you, Dad. Oh my God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because it really did save me in that instance from so many situations that really could have turned out completely opposite had I not been prepared for that one thing. So, parents, listen up, listen up. Now, back to this whole healing process. So, you covered no.
Mm-hmm.
You helped me get through no. Now, what is like the next step that you kind of help your clients in with the healing process?
Communication and clarity.
Oh,
So within that first week of that boot camp, so I told you about the negative day, positive day. There is a clarity day. You have to be extremely clear in what you want. So one of the
mhm,
questions that I ask is, I tell them, ask one question, the same
mhm.
question to 3 different people and write down their answers.
Okay.
And so the purpose of that is if you're getting 3 different answers, you're not clear in what you're asking.
Oh.
When I was talking to my husband recently, and I was like, he told the boys, they're 9 and 13, clean up. And he was like, look at this. They know what I mean by clean up. I said, so yes and no. Your
Mhm.
definition of clean up and theirs are 2 different things. Now,
Very
if
true.
you would have said, sweep the floor, take this off this, and do that, and they did not do those things, then yes, be completely upset.
Gotcha.
Because in their world, especially my 9-year-old, clean up means to pick up everything that you see and put it in the dirty clothes hamper. Whether it's clean or not. When I know when the boys have cleaned the room up because the hamper is full.
Oh, oh gosh. I remember being guilty of that one.
It's like, instead of hanging it up, we're just going to throw it in the hamper. The rest of the stuff might go in the closet. So
Oh,
being being very clear.
gosh.
And I'll tell you what that helps with. in that
Mm-hmm.
healing process. And then speaking of, parenting, it helps them to understand that clarity matters. And
Oh,
as they grow up, then they're going to be clear in what they want, they don't want, what they need, and what they don't need.
yes.
So that they may not need as much healing going forward.
Oh, that is so true. That when I did some of my own work, that was a very big thing. You got to get clear, get clear. And it's like, what do you mean get clear? And now I realize that it's exactly what you're saying. We really are not taught to clearly and effectively communicate what it is that we want, because truth be told, we really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
How can you clearly and effectively communicate if you don't know what you want?
Right. And that is when you were talking about the parenting part of it is, teaching the children. That's going to start with all of the kids like myself that grew up in the latchkey kid, drug addicted parent era of healing us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can teach, because what we're doing is we're taking our unhealed selves and we're spewing it on the kids. We're not, so we're showing them how to continue this broken cycle.
That cycle. Trust me, I know. I have a 16-year-old and a 23-year-old. And there are certain patterns that I realized that my parents did that, and I can say from experience, before I started my personal healing process, I was doing all of the same stuff.
Yeah.
I was doing all of the same, because you don't realize as a kid you hate it and you say, oh, I'll never do that. You'll never do it if you take the time to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the time to really look at it and acknowledge what hurt you, what bruised you, what caused you some pain, what kept you crying, some stuff that your mama and daddy said that really hurt your feelings. You have to deal with all of that stuff, because if you don't recognize it, you do the exact same thing to your kids. And I remember halfway through my personal healing process, I was like, oh, I felt so bad, because that was the part, and I don't know if we'll have time to get to it. That was the part of forgiveness for me, to where at one point I was so mad at God. I couldn't forgive God, and then I was mad at people, but then I got that stuff okay. But then I realized I had to forgive myself.
That's right. Say it.
And then, but before I could forgive, in order for me to allow that forgiveness for myself, I had to go back to my kids and apologize. And I realized, oh my God, I am so sorry that I did this. I am so sorry that I said that. And what a lot of parents don't realize, in some situations, for some of our kids, sometimes I had to apologize because I realized that there were certain moments, because I was so caught up in my stuff, that I didn't even protect my kids when I should have protected them. And so this is why this conversation is so important. And we as adults now, like you're saying, have to do our personal work.
Yes.
Because we end up creating so many issues for our kids that aren't necessary.
Yeah, because they have enough with what's going on outside of home is their peaceful place.
It's
so
supposed to
if
be.
we're giving them the same strife that they have outside, then they have no reason to be any different anywhere. And if we do not come out of the comfort zone of those cycles that we were in, we have to be okay with being uncomfortable, so that we can truly make sure that our children are comfortable.
I think you just really said something. Because I realize a lot of parents don't like being uncomfortable, especially when it comes to their kids. Is that what would a parent not willing to be uncomfortable and a parent not willing to be vulnerable,
Mm.
are they doing themselves a disservice, or they're doing their kids a disservice?
They are doing anybody that they come in contact with a disservice.
Oh, got you.
You have to, if you think about a cut on your finger, when you
Mm-hmm.
cut your finger, that thing is, down to the meat. It bleeds and it hurts. The first thing you do is you grab it, or you put a Band-Aid on it, or you do
Mm-hmm.
something to try to put pressure on it to
Yeah.
stop the bleeding. You don't
Mm-hmm.
just go around and wave your fingers around and wave the blood around.
No.
So if you are cut and you are hurt, for you to
Mm-hmm.
just keep going through life, just
Oh,
dealing with this open cut,
oh, I
all your
never
blood,
thought of
that's spewing.
that.
Oh yeah, that
Oh.
is spewing on everything. So everything you touch, you're putting blood here, you're putting blood. You are spewing your negative toxicity on everything that you touch. So treat yourself the same way you would treat a cut on your finger. Go tend to
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm. Ooh. You
Show
gonna
it
have
some love.
oh, people don't realize that. So when we're not healed spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, that is an open wound that is like blood spewing,
Spewing.
and we leave our blood on everything that we touch.
Not only that, everything we touch, we now allow it to infect that wound.
Mm.
So when you leave yourself open and unhealed, you allow
Mhm.
the outside negativity to get in there. You
Mm.
know the reason why in a hospital, in a surgical room, it is a
Mhm.
sterile field.
Yes.
So if you think of yourself as a surgery room, you are a sterile field.
Mhm.
When you are, there are only very specific people that are allowed in that surgery room.
Very
Treat
true.
yourself as that. Treat yourself as a sterile field, that once you have been healed and whole, only certain people
Mhm.
who are armed properly are allowed in your space.
Oh, yes. So
That's
you
what
have to be careful of the company you keep.
the company you keep.
You cannot be on a process of healing. You cannot be on the journey of trying to heal and keep yourself around broken people.
Oh, no, no, no. You have to
Mhm.
kick those people out of your surgical field, your sterile field. You are a sterile being. And as you're getting, because you think about it,
Mhm.
you when you in the surgery suite, before the doctor enters, before the anesthesiologist, before the nurse, before even the patient, before any of you guys come into the room, it is being prepped. So that means that you need to prep yourself. That's what that healing process is.
And
We are
everybody scrubs down before they go in.
Everybody scrubs down. And if they have an open wound,
They
they don't
can't go.
come in.
Mm-mm.
If they have
Or
anything,
if they come in contact with anybody, they have
they
to
don't
go back
come
and
in.
clean up. They have to go back and rewash.
Tell it.
So we have to be that when we start the journey of our healing process, we have to understand and we have to care for ourselves that much that we have to become very particular of who we allow around us
Yes,
and who we allow ourselves to be around.
that's right. And every once in a while, that surgeon may have another specialist that's allowed to be in there, right?
Okay.
But typically, that other specialist only comes in at the point where the first doctor is either done or almost done. And then they may enter to start their part of the surgery. So if you feel
Oh.
like you are almost at a point where you feel, pretty good about the work you've done,
Hmm.
only then may you allow somebody to come into your space. But if they're not prepped, gloved, washed, and ready, you put them back out. Because nobody should contaminate your sterile field, which is you.
So is that what happens when our circle starts to change? Number 10, oh, you done changed. Oh, you think you all that. Oh, she thinks she better now. What happened to you? Oh, you don't love me no more?
Yes.
Oh, you selfish now. Oh, she's selfish. Oh no, she think or he think they all that.
And and you should say, because what my answer is,
Yes.
sure do. Now
Oh,
either you gonna clean your
I'm gonna
hands
take a
and
sip on that
scrub
one.
up. That's right, take a sip. Either you gonna scrub up, get clean, or you
I
gonna
love
get out
that.
of my surgery suite. Simple as that. All
Yes.
my life I have been called mean. Like my
Mhm.
sister literally have dubbed me Eveline. And I wear that name with pride. I am
Wait,
perfectly
even
happy
from
with
the
it.
wind.
Yes. I take that name seriously. Thank you.
Oh, hello, hello, hello. One of the things I told my mom this week, I appreciated her because she taught me as I got older. As I've gotten older, our relationship has gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think initially because she was dealing with a lot of her own things, there were certain things she just didn't deposit.
Mm-hmm.
And however, we've made up for it. And so one of the things was, when one was to teach people how to treat you, like you said earlier. And then the other was when people show you who they are, you don't get mad. You don't have to have a fight, but you treat them with a long handled spoon. You
Yes.
just, it's like, I love you. I'm not mad, but right now with where I'm going and what I'm doing, I can't have that connection. I can't have
You
that
don't even have to give them that
relationship right now.
explanation. You can just leave them where they are.
Yeah, you leave them where they are. And sometimes I think even for me, that's where you have to be clear for yourself.
Yeah.
And I know we're definitely going to have this conversation. We continued. But one of the things that a while ago, I'm not going to completely tell my age, but there was a young lady that we were hanging out with, and it was a group of us, and we would all have a good time. And I started to realize I didn't see her around as much. And one day she came around, I was like, girl, where you been? We're missing you. Nothing really happened. But she said, one day you will understand.
Mm-hmm.
She said, the stuff that I'm praying for, the stuff that I'm working on mentally, spiritually, emotionally right now, I can't be around all of this. I love y'all. It's not personal. I don't have anything against you guys. It's just what I need to get to that next level. What I need to be, who I need to be for my family, because at that point she really started understanding what she needed to be for her family.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I love y'all, but that is my first priority.
Yeah.
And I realized I have to make sure that I'm whole.
Yeah.
And I do everything I need to do so that I can protect myself and my family. And she said, whenever that is done, if it's meant for me to come back around, girl, by all means, you'll see me. But until that happens,
She
I
was
love
like,
you.
out.
I love you.
That's what you have to do. And that's walking that healing pathway. Like
Mm-hmm.
it feels good. It's a little scary, but it feels good.
Ooh.
And what you gonna
It's
say?
not a little scary. It's
It's a
scary.
lot scary.
I can't drop that. It's scary as hell, y'all. The healing process is painful as.
But it feels so
I'm
good
gonna
at
be
the
honest
end.
with people, because that's it, and that's why a lot of times people don't do it, because it is painful. And however, it's worth it.
Yes.
It's so worth it if you do it. That's where that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. But it only comes when you choose to join that process of healing. You have
Yes.
to walk it out. You got to walk it out.
Yes. 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 And I fortunately I did it at 20 because I had my two girls. Um,
Oh.
and everybody doesn't do that. And the reason why I created that boot camp is for that woman, who did not get it and that's ready for it.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
5 week intense, just you walking through
Wow.
it. And when you come out on the other end, it's amazing.
Okay, I see our time is getting away from us. How I want to have you back on because I want to talk another part about the healing process, which is forgiveness.
Hmm.
But before they cut us off, please let everybody know where they can find you and how they can, if they want to join and do this boot camp, what it is that they need to do.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining in this evening. You can always find me right here on Instagram. I'm Coach K101. The boot camp, you can find information on that at ownyourishsis.com. Just like it sounds, ownyourishsis.com. I have 5 beta testing spots still open, which means you do not pay full price for the boot camp. You can always give me a call at 804-967-4551 or just DM me right here to get more information. I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Oh my God, I'm so glad. I'm telling you, because I want to talk about forgiveness. I want to get on grief, experiencing
Mm-hmm.
the different types of loss and what that looks like. It's so much about this conversation that I think we really, really need to have at this time with where we are. But again, before they shut us off, I want to thank you for joining us this evening and allowing this conversation to happen. Um, I want to thank Sex Ready Lips. Definitely, everybody go to sexreadylips.com to purchase your lipstick, to purchase your lingerie, and create a nice little bag of tricks, for the bedroom. Create some new passion up in the bedroom, and add Carla D10 to that, and you'll get 10% off. And this is your favorite life coach, Carla D. I love you guys. Love you guys. You can follow me on IG at Carla D365. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. And we have a surprise because I will not be seeing you guys in my normal space. We'll be getting in the air a little bit and going and seeing a few things. So I can't wait to let you know where we'll be coming from next week. But have a great night, everybody. Enjoy. Be safe. Love on yourself. Do what you got to do to take care of yourself. Fill your tank so then you can always feel those around you. Have a great night, everybody. Mwah.
Good night.
Bye.